I moved to the new dorm room due to my scholarship requirements. It was the university's cheapest housing option for honors students. The distorted sign swung in the wind as I carried my suitcases up the stairs, each step creaking under my weight. The fourth-floor hallway stretched endlessly, lined with identical doors bearing tarnished brass numbers. Room 413 was at the very end, slightly apart from the others, like an afterthought. I turned the key and opened the door with a loud creak. Cold air rushed past me as I stepped inside. August heat should have made the room sweltering, but my breath fogged before me. The space looked normal enough: 2 twin beds, matching desks, a battered dresser, and a narrow closet with a warped door. Yet something felt immediately wrong. The walls weren't quite square, creating unsettling angles where they met the ceiling. Faded yellow wallpaper curled at the edges, revealing black stains beneath. Most disturbing was the water damage on the ceiling above the left bed, a sprawling dark patch that uncannily resembled a face, with its mouth stretched wide. I took the bed on the right side. Over the next 3 days, I settled into a routine. Mornings in fluorescent-lit classrooms, afternoons in the library's stale air, evenings trying to ignore how my new room always felt 10 degrees colder than the hallway. The closet door would sometimes creak open on its own, but it was temporary, I told myself. The faint metallic smell coming from inside was probably just rusty pipes. On the 4th night, I woke up with a jolt at 3:13 a.m. Silence pressed against my eardrums. No hum of appliances, no dorm sounds through the walls. Just perfect, unnatural quiet. Then came the wet, dragging sound from the closet, like fingers slowly tracing the inside of the door. A childlike voice whispered in my ears, "You're in the wrong room." The whisper brushed against my ear, so close I felt the vibration in my skull. My body locked in terror as the closet door swung open another inch, revealing swirling darkness that shouldn't exist in a shallow dorm closet. I didn't sleep again that night. Jason moved in the next morning, and I nearly hugged him in relief. My new roommate was a burly engineering major who laughed when I mentioned the whisper. "Place is a dump, but it's not haunted," he said, kicking the closet door shut. The impact sent a fine shower of dust from the ceiling. That night, we both woke at 3:13 a.m. hearing a loud knock. Not ordinary knocking. Thick, wet impacts that made the closet door tremble. Jason's face went pale in the glow of his phone. We shoved the dresser against the closet. The knocking stopped. Then the giggling began. A child's laugh, but distorted, too high, too sharp, coming first from the closet, then the walls, and then right behind our heads. Jason bolted for the RA's room. I should have followed. The dresser exploded away from the closet, like it had been hit by a truck. The door flew open with a crack, revealing not a closet but a long hallway stretching into darkness. Black mold pulsed on the walls like a heartbeat. The floor glistened with something thick and dark. At the far end, silhouetted against a flickering red light, stood a tall figure. Too tall, too thin, arms hanging past its knees. Its head tilted at an impossible angle as it took its first step toward me. The floorboards screamed in protest. I ran as fast as I could. We told the RA about everything we saw. He searched everywhere, but didn't he find anything? Campus security saw only an ordinary closet, but the housing director turned ghost white when we showed our room assignment. "There is no room named 413, she whispered, her fingers trembling on the records. "This building skips from 412 to 415. An old janitor overheard us and pulled us aside. He said they sealed that room in '92, his eyes darting toward the ceiling, after a boy vanished. They found his journal. The last page said the closet kept getting deeper every night. We were reassigned that afternoon. Last week, an email appeared in my inbox. 'Hi, I'm in 413 now. Did you leave something in the closet? I keep hearing scratching, and last night I saw something standing at the foot of my bed.' I didn't reply. Now when I walk past Eldridge Hall at night, I always look up. Most times, The room is completely dark, but sometimes it feels like someone is watching me from there. I was excited about college before, but it hit me harder than expected. Between the mountain of assignments and the constant struggle to afford textbooks, I often felt like I was drowning. But there were bright spots. My volleyball teammates who'd share their notes when I missed classes. The sweet old librarian, and Mr. Calloway, the maintenance worker who always seemed to show up when I needed help. They were just some of the kind faces around campus. That day, it was Thursday afternoon. The volleyball practice left us all exhausted. The locker room buzzed with chatter as we peeled off our sweaty uniforms. My friend rushed out for a smoothie, along with my other friends following her. I hung back, like always. Some habits I wasn't able to get rid of. I still couldn't bring myself to change in front of others. The showers had just gone quiet, and then I heard it, a click. That distinctive sound of a smartphone camera. My blood ran cold. At the far end of the shower area, the cinder block wall beside the old door had a fresh dime-sized hole drilled right at eye level. I approached slowly, my heart pounding. Through the hole, the outside hall was completely visible. That night, the walk back to my dorm felt different. The usual comforting sounds of campus, distant laughter, music from open windows. Everything set me on edge. Then I heard it. Footsteps matching mine exactly. When I sped up, they sped up. When I stopped, they stopped. I glanced back to see a figure in a dark hoodie, lingering under a flickering streetlight. I checked my phone, but it had 0 bars. So I ran, until my sides ached, but not stopping until I'd triple-locked my dorm door. For days, I jumped at every sound. The library's creaky chairs made me flinch. A slammed car door sent my coffee flying. Then I saw him, outside my morning lecture, Mr. Calloway, who was supposedly fixing a light fixture, but his phone was angled straight at me. When our eyes met, he quickly looked away and disappeared down a service hallway. I didn't know what to think about it. He was such a genuine guy. He would never do something like that, especially to me. But then I kept thinking about it the whole day. I then realized how frequent our unexpected passings were. Without any hesitation, I reported about him. 2 days later, he was caught red-handed. Hundreds of photos of our friends, and a whole lot of them were mine. Me studying, sleeping in the library, in the locker room, intimate shots of my body that I worked so hard to hide. The man who I'd thought was just another kind soul on campus had been studying me for months. Those unexpected encounters. It was all planned. The time he found my lost keys. Security footage showed him slipping them from my bag when I wasn't looking. They arrested him in the maintenance office. I first noticed the extra study room in the basement of the Rutherford Library during midterms week. The building was already a relic. One of those brutalist concrete structures from the 70s that always smelled vaguely of mildew and desperation. Most students avoided the basement level, with its flickering fluorescence and the persistent hum of ancient HVAC systems. But I needed quiet, and the upper floors were packed with panicking undergrads. That's when I saw the door I'd never noticed before. Room B14 stood slightly ajar, at the end of a dimly lit corridor, its frosted glass window glowing with warm yellow light, in stark contrast to the cold blue tones of the rest of the basement. The brass plaque beside it was tarnished almost black, but I could just make out the words, "Special collections by appointment only." I peeked inside. The room was small but cozy, with dark wood paneling and an actual leather armchair that looked decades old but well cared for. A single study lamp cast a warm pool of light on an oak desk that was suspiciously free of graffiti or gum. Most surprising was the complete silence. Not even the ever-present hum of the building's systems penetrated this space. I should have questioned why such a perfect study spot was empty during midterms. At first, it was just a great place to focus. The physics equations that had seemed impossible in the noisy upper floors flowed easily at that oak desk. My highlighters didn't dry out inexplicably, like they did elsewhere in the library. Even the chair seemed to adjust itself perfectly to my posture. Then I noticed the book. It appeared on the corner of the desk during one of my study sessions, an old, cloth-bound volume, with J. Mercer embossed in gold on the spine. When I opened it, I found handwritten notes, in perfect cursive, detailing advanced quantum mechanics concepts that weren't covered in any of my textbooks. After a week of using B14, I started noticing differences. My hair grew faster. My cuticles stopped peeling. The chronic wrist pain from typing vanished overnight. At first, I chalked it up to reduced stress from having a good study space. Then my reflection started looking off. Not younger exactly, but different. My jawline sharper, my eyes a shade lighter. The changes were subtle enough that no one else seemed to notice, but I could see it. The book multiplied too. Now 3 identical volumes sat on the desk, each containing notes from different decades, but all in that same perfect handwriting. The newest one was dated 1987 and included diagrams of devices that looked decades ahead of their time. University archives had no record of a J. Mercer in the physics department. The librarian at the reference desk turned pale when I asked about room B14. "There is no B14, she said too quickly. "The basement numbering stops at B12. But when I pressed, an elderly professor overheard and pulled me aside. His hands trembled as he spoke. Jeremy Mercer was a grad student in '63, brilliant, but obsessed with time dilation experiments. One night he changed, came out of his lab looking like an aged version of himself, then a younger version. Then, the professor's voice dropped to a whisper. They walled up his lab. Last night, I found a new note in the most recent book. Stay longer next time, it read, in fresh ink. We have so much to discuss. The words shimmered slightly as if written with liquid gold. When I touched them, my fingers came away dusted with a metallic powder that smelled like ozone and old books. The armchair now has 2 deep impressions in the leather, but only one of them is mine. They'll find my notebooks eventually. Pages filled with equations. No one's discovered yet. Dated years in the future. And if you ever find a study room in the basement that isn't on the maps, don't sit in the leather chair. Don't touch the books. Run.